Hello, fellow music lovers. Thank you for visiting my channel. My name is Caesar Pink.
Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Let your mama down. Baby, please.
And we're here with dancer and artist and all-around cool rock and roll chick, Dina Spanner. I got that right?
Yes.
And we're gonna look at a video by Jefferson Airplane. But before that, all the proceeds from this channel are donated to the Arete Living Arts Foundation. So please like and subscribe. If you want to support us more, you can join our Patreon page or make a one-time tax-deductible donation at our PayPal link. All of those links are below in the comments section. Anyways, so what's the name of the song we're doing here?
So the name of this song is Lather, and it's by Jefferson Airplane. It's off of their Crown of Creation album. Sort of an album that's not known as popularly for Jefferson Airplane, as big of a well-known band that they are, but...
Before we go on, I would like to talk about you a little. Could you tell us about your artistic work?
Sure, yeah. So I am primarily a dancer and choreographer. I would say that my personal expression and art that I make is more along the lines of performance art with heavy dance.
Could you explain that a little more? That's interesting to me. Where is the performance art part of it and where is the dance part of it?
Well, I think generally speaking, dance has a lot of structural elements and different genres. And I think when you take movement outside of those structures, you can find other ways of moving and dancing that aren't confined to those definitive, genres. And in that, performance art comes in because it can become performative and experimental. A lot of my work is really experimental, using sometimes different props, sometimes also just investigating colloquial movement to not just, balletic or contemporary styles. So,
is there any example you could give of where you're using a prop or?
So my most recent piece I just did, and I'll just say, the art that I do when I'm choreographing and making a project is very much based on my own personal experience. So each piece has some kind of story that I'm pulling from my memory. And so the latest piece I did was actually a solo, which is terribly difficult to choreograph a solo. It's a zero feedback loop. But this piece, I had a cardboard box that I fastened to my ankle using a long scarf. And so the process of this was choreographing some dance movement and then adding this element and seeing how this element of having something attached to my ankle changes the dance, influences it, and it's something that you almost can't predict. So I enjoy playing with that kind of conversation with props rather than choreographing to the prop, adding the prop later to see what comes from that.
And was that almost like putting up a blockade to what normal dance would be and see how you deal with that challenge?
Definitely, yeah. I think that comes into, I would agree.
And when you did the performance, how did people react?
It was so lovely because I actually did this piece at a work in progress showing with 5 other artists. And so we had a question and answer session afterward. And I mean, in this piece, I'm just totally thrashing my body through the space. It's painful, actually, in some ways. But the story, the memory that I'm working from was really painful. And I just felt so seen in a way I understood without ever having to convey what my piece was about. It was like the audience felt where I was going with it, and the box really became a symbol of something much larger than just having a cardboard box tied to your ankle.
And after you did that, did it feel cathartic to you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's like therapy in that way.
And one more question, among famous dancers and choreographers, is there anybody who's been an influence on you?
Sure, I think, I mean, these are some niche artists, but Neil Greenberg is a choreographer. It's a downtown Manhattan experimental side of choreography, but he definitely has been an inspiration and influence in my work.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Sorry.
Well, that all sounds really interesting. I'd love to see your work sometime. So let's go ahead. Now, can you give, for people who don't know, and there are young people who don't know, can you give us any information about Jefferson Airplane, where they came from, what their time period was?
Oh, sure. So, Jefferson Airplane is a pretty well-known band, but they came out of, I would say, like the 60s, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm younger too, so maybe you tell me. But they were also involved in Woodstock. They were one of the bands that played there alongside Flying Burrito Brothers and others.
And they were they San Francisco based?
I think so. I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay, well, let's take a look at this video. Here you go.
Lather was 30 years old today. They took away all of his toys. His mother sent newspaper clippings to him about his old friends who stopped being boys. There was Howard C. Green, just turned 33. His leather chair waits at the bank. And Sergeant Dow Jones, 27 years old, commanding his very own tank. But Lather still finds it a nice thing to do, to lie about nude in the sand, drawing pictures of mountains that look like bumps, and thrashing the air with his hands. But wait, whole Lather's productive, you know. He produces the finest of sound, putting drumsticks on either side of his nose, snorting the best licks in town.
Okay, we're going to stop it here for a minute. I actually do listen to some Jefferson Airplane, but I've definitely never heard this. Well, let's start with what happened there. That little, I guess, a solo area. Do you know what he's playing or how he's making that sound?
I think it's some kind of kazoo.
Huh. That was a surprise to me anyways. But tell me a little bit about what it is in this song that you personally like.
So, the first time I heard this song was probably 12 years ago or something along those lines. And I was kind of fascinated by the lyrics mostly and the story. The music behind the lyrics and the story is very like trippy, psychedelic. And so the combination of all those things just feel very of the time.
Now, was this after White Rabbit being
I think before.
Interesting.
Or maybe, we'd have to look. Now I'm not sure. I feel like we should look and see. Crown of Creation is the album it comes off of. And that album, if you haven't heard any, tons of other really great songs. The lyrics, some of them still relevant today, because, all this time, the sexual revolution and human potential and whatnot. And so a lot of that album has themes along those lines.
I'll make a point of checking that out. Sounds interesting. But what is going on in the lyrics of this song in particular that spoke to you?
So she's singing about someone who's named Lather. And this person is a young, maybe just graduated high school, let's say, most likely about to be drafted to the ward. there's also in this, the comparison of his peers. And growing up as a creative person, I've often felt that pressure of how to fit into the societal norm, even though I don't.
Also known as be normal.
Or, yeah, right, exactly. And so hearing this story about Lather and some of his friends are bankers and this, but it's a criticism on societal structures in general. So
Great. Let's listen to the rest of it.
But that's all over. Lather was 30 years old today, and lather came foam from his tongue. He looked at me, eyes wide, and plainly say, "Is it true that I'm no longer young?" Mommy? And the children call him famous, what the old men call insane. And sometimes he's so nameless that he hardly knows what game to play, which words to say. And I should have told him, no, you're not old, and I should have let him go on smiling, baby, why?
One of the things that interests me about it musically is some of the parts were really kind of beautiful. Her tone of voice was beautiful. And then suddenly you'd get these like atonal and spacey. It was really interesting hearing those combined in that way. Now, you're pretty young. I noticed this is on the Smothers Brothers show. Do you have a sense of what that was? Well, it's interesting because Stephen Colbert was just canceled, probably for political things. And the Smothers Brothers, I guess it was 60s, late 60s, and they were pretty edgy as far as the artists and their personal comedy. And they kept getting kicked off of networks because of speaking against the Vietnam War. And it's a very interesting show if people haven't checked it out. It's a mix of something really like innocent and goofy and a lot of edginess in their humor and the entire show. It was a variety show. Is there anything else any thoughts you have on this song that you could share?
I guess I haven't listened to it in a little while, so re-listening again, I remember how she tells the tale of Lather as he's aging, which I'd forgot about that part of it. And I do find it to be kind of interesting how like 30 is the year that, and it's sort of something that even I grew up with, thinking like, oh, when I'm 30, it'll be too late for me to dance. I can't, I must make it before then. And
Yeah.
this idea is so not true. And I think that, I'm 33 now, so when I first heard this song, I guess I was 22 or something. Mm-hmm. And even then, at that point, I didn't believe that. So I was like happy to hear it in this song and say, if you go on smiling, you could stay forever young potentially. And
It's interesting, when I was 32, business people in the music business were telling me to lie about my age. That's the world we live in, yes. Now, an interesting thing I noticed, I don't know exactly what I was hearing, but I thought I heard like a voice say "mommy" and
Yes.
some other talking. Can you tell us any more about what that was about?
I think that Jefferson Airplane had a way of being humorous in their music a lot of the time, and I think that that's just another moment there where this person narrating Grace narrating this, and say, you know, is it true that I'm no longer young? Like this also comments on gender roles and looking for a mommy, as we must say, in dating culture, you know.
Yeah.
And I think she's poking at that in that moment with the music, or whoever decided to throw that little voice in there. Just to say that Lather's 30 now, but is still looking for a mother figure. It's just my opinion, I don't know.
Well, no, you're probably right. I'm just thinking of how many echoes of truth I see with that. And like,
Yeah, I think there's more layers there. But
oh, great. That's very cool. I'm glad I checked that out. And thank you for joining us today. And thank you for visiting our channel. Remember to like and subscribe, and hope to see you soon.